All right. Welcome to the Indie Corner. We're talking about all things independent comics. I'm Mikey.
I'm Rebecca.
And today, people, we're back at it again with another book podcast this time. We're going to take a little break from the After Darks, even though we love doing those. Those have been fun. But, we haven't done a book since Ultra Mega, so which is maybe like a month or two ago. So I'm happy to do another book. That's great. And yeah, so this time we're going to be talking about, because there is a new show out on Amazon Prime based off I wouldn't say big comic. It has a very I said like a very like not underground following, but it's has a big enough following, but not like a huge following. Um, Paper Girls. The show Paper Girls is out on Amazon Prime, so we're gonna be covering the book, the first volume of Paper Girls, written by the GOAT, the God, our savior, Brian K. Vaughan, and it's been drawn by Cliff Chiang. So yeah, Rebecca, I'm happy we're doing this book. We've been wanting to do this book for a while, like
In like 2 years.
years, but we just never got the chance to do it. But now we have more of a reason to now because the show's out. So yeah, I'm happy to just get right into it, and obviously we'll give our thoughts on the show because I think me, Rebecca, you've seen the show, right? You've seen.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so we'll talk about our thoughts on the show at the end. But yeah, so we'll just get right into it. So yeah, so we'll just talk about issue number 1, Rebecca. So you got issue number 1?
Yeah. So issue number 1. We start out, we're like on the moon or something, right? There's a young girl holding an apple, and suddenly she's approached by the angel of Christy McAuliffe. I
I
don't know
don't
if
know
that's
who
how you
that
say or
is.
not.
I don't know who that is. I was like, who is that? Like I don't know who that
They
is.
literally say in the next line that she's one of the people who died in the Challenger explosion.
Mm,
And she tells this young girl that she's in heaven, but her little sister's in hell.
why?
So, flash forward to her little sister in hell, and she's like, wait a second, this isn't right. And then the angel tells her, well, you shouldn't be here either, basically. I don't, this whole thing's weird, just so you know. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in this comic.
It's a very weird book.
But the angel tells her, like, oh, that apple you have, you shouldn't have eat from it. We warned you, never eat from the tree of knowledge. And suddenly she wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in Cleveland, Ohio, uh, on November 1st, 1988, I believe.
Yeah.
The early morning after Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So this girl, Erin, she is a paper girl, which is just a paper boy, but a girl. She delivers newspapers early in the morning to different parts of the neighborhood. So she gets out on her bike. She starts delivering, and a bunch of like teenage boys still out for Halloween start harassing her.
It's always the teenage boys, huh?
It always is. They just can't leave women alone. Anyway, they're harassing her, and suddenly she's saved by a group of 3 other paper girls.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm skipping over some part. There's a lot of dialogue here.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
But so we're introduced to our 3 other main characters. Front and center we have Mac. To her left we have Tiff, and then to her right we have KJ.
Yeah. And it's just I think like this page is dope. I mean, obviously like Cliff Chiang. I've never really seen Cliff Chiang's artwork besides his book. I think he did Wonder Woman, I believe. But like it's just his artwork is really dope. But also
His
just
art is gorgeous in this book. To me, it's the best part about this book. If you're gonna buy this book for anything, buy it for the art. Or if you like really weird plots, buy it.
Yeah. And you can really tell that this is the 80s because the moment we get the introduction of Mac is literally Mac saying
A slur.
The F slur. And it's just like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Max has a lot of
oh yeah.
not cool
Max
stuff.
like most of this book.
Yeah. All right, so they're giving her the rundown on what it's like to be a paper girl and how they should all stick together because it's the day after Halloween and all that stuff. So they're all going to ride together. And Tiff also gives her her extra walkie-talkie so they can communicate when they split up to deliver newspapers. So as they're doing that, they run into a bunch of weird-looking guys. They kind of look like a cross between ninjas and like mummies.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the best way to
that's actually
describe it.
that's the best way to put it. Actually, I didn't even think about that.
And they're like, that was weird, and kind of ignore it for the meantime. So we get a little bit of character background here. Mac and Aaron, who decide to go together, get stopped by the police, and Aaron's like, Mac, why does the police know who you are and stuff like that? And she's like, forget about it, whatever.
Yeah.
Then we get a call on the walkie-talkie from Tiff. She got her knee scraped or something like that, and it turns out those weird-looking mummy guys attacked them and stole their walkie-talkies. So Mac's like, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna fuck them up, and we're gonna take our walkie-talkie back because that costs like $50 in 1980s money, which I assume is like super expensive.
Yeah, nah. She said I remember like a specific detail that Tiff said that she's like I spent like most of my Christmas bonuses on it. I'm just like, wow, really had a tough time back in the 80s.
Yeah, I bet. But anyway, they try to follow these guys, and that leads them to this weird unfinished house down to the basement where they discover that there is a weird machine in the basement.
So,
I think I just repeated myself there, but whatever.
Yeah.
So they're like, what the fuck is this, you know? So they're just trying to look at it. They're like tapping on it, whatever, when suddenly it blasts them.
The thing is, like, I love the fact that, again, because it's the 80s, they immediately, I don't know who brought it up. I don't know if it was Tiffany or someone, but, like, they made it seem like, oh, like, it's the Russians. It has to be the Russians. The communists are here. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
So 80s. Love it.
Yeah, feel free to interject with details because I'm just trying to cover, like, the main beats, but so much happens in the story, especially in the first
It's a
issue.
lot. Yeah. It is a lot. But again, I love just Cliff Chang's art so good. Like it's just very distracting to look at. Like it's just I don't know. I think also the thing they said that like the time machine. I don't know if it was the cloth that covered it or what have you. But it said like it feels like skin. Like I don't know. It said it felt like organic or something. I don't know.
I think I missed that detail, but that's so gross.
It's disgusting. And no, actually, I'm actually looking right here. They said I don't think they mentioned it was the Soviets. They think it is like maybe like a project that these teenagers made for like it says like for the like it's like today because today's like the 15th anniversary of War of the Worlds, and it's like and she's like no, not the TV show, but like the radio serial that came back out in like the 30s or something.
Yeah,
and it's just like wow, they're really in the fucking 80s. This is crazy. I've never watched. I didn't know there was a War of the Worlds series. I only know about the Tom Cruise film. So
really, you haven't heard that like whole thing about how like people like freaked out, which I don't think is actually like true or whatever. But that's like an urban legend, I guess.
I've never heard of it.
All right. Anyway, so they get blasted, and they're like, "That was super weird." So they run out of the house, only to find there's so many stars in the sky.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a photo of that or not.
I have the next page. I don't have the that page, but I mean you could still kind of see it. It's still purple.
Yeah. Like something is not right, and then they see those mummy guys again, and once again chase after them. They're speaking some weird language that they don't understand, fighting to get their walkies back. And as they're fighting, Mac unmasks one of them, and we see what he looks like.
He's ugly.
Yeah, not my type, to say the least.
I mean, I would hope so. I mean, listen, unless you if it's the personality that counts for you, but.
If you look like this and you have a wonderful personality, maybe then we can talk. But anyway, so they're fighting these guys, and suddenly they run off. And as they're running off, KJ realizes they dropped something. It's an apple.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
that's the end of issue 1.
All right. So here's the thing, right? Because I watched the show and immediately like I thought that like going into it because I decided to watch the show blind. I didn't like read the book beforehand, but like I thought that the show would be very accurate to the book in terms of like how the plot works. And then I read the book and I was like, no, they do change some stuff around. This Apple thing, I didn't see that coming. I was like, okay, that's
Well, the first volume is basically covered in episode 1.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. Not even episode 1. Like, actually, no, yeah, episode 1. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think this issue, it's very good. I think it's very fast paced. Like, it doesn't really slow down at all. Like, I think like
Yeah.
the thing is pretty like, because like I really like it was a very quick read. Because I mean, what you said, I think we discussed it. Yeah, we discussed off camera. Is very plot driven. So like, I think Brian came on and said I'd be like, there's gonna be a moment after moment after moment instead of like there are not really that many like times to breathe except for like some of the dialogue moments with like the bullies and like the cop that shows
Yeah,
up.
it's very I guess you'd say self-obsessed with the plot.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, no, I think it's really cool. We get I like the introduction of the characters. We get a lot like even through some of them we get some of them, not all of them. We get like a hints of their personality, especially like Mac. Like Mac, like straight up, you already know what Mac's about, and it's just like okay, it's very forward. But
Yeah.
yeah, uh, but yeah, no, I think it's cool. But I also wish that because it kind of bothers me in comics where like you have these other like aliens or like other dimensional beings that speak in another language, and like there isn't like a translation. But I guess you kind of have to like just use your imagination because like if you read the book, like it's just the speech bubbles are just have these symbols in them, and I'm just like I want to know what they're saying, but like I guess you gotta like use your imagination to figure it out. So, but I still think it's cool though.
Yeah, I think the first issue does a really good job of like setting up the mystery. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it's one of those comics where there's so much packed into it. If you want like a slower, more character-based thing, go somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I
But
mean,
it
that's all I gotta say. It's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid issue for sure.
all right. So you
Mhm.
ready to move on to issue 2?
Yes, sir. So issue 2, and also like these covers. I love these covers. These covers are good. It's very. I mean, again, because like I like simple covers sometimes. Like, yeah, I respect a simple cover, and I just love the fact it's just like the outlines of the characters and just like one color, and then like maybe an additional color to like add something specific about to tell like something about the character. It's little details like that I like. But I mean, I love
Yeah.
the colors in these.
I also like for this cover too, like she's holding a gun in her hand, but the thing her eye is drawn to is the music.
Yeah, as the walk. Well, I'll say it's a Walkman. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Walkman. Yeah,
Walkman, tape recorder, whatever.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, anyway, issue 2. So we open with the weird mummy guys once again. They're running through backyards when suddenly we see a creature appear in one of the panels, and it super eats him.
Do,
And
I'm gonna say
well,
does it eat him? But yeah, no, it eats
well,
him.
at very least it kills him,
Yeah.
but it's not looking so good. And as we see in the panel, someone picks up the walkie. So cut back to the girls. They are in no, hold on. Erin's house, and they're trying to figure out where everyone is. Her dad isn't home, her mom isn't home, her sister isn't home. They're looking around and they're talking about what to do because it seems like everybody's gone.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I think like they made it seem like maybe like they got like people I guess got evacuated or something. But I mean that real obviously that doesn't make any sense because how they evacuate people so quickly.
yeah, they talk a lot about if people are like in bomb shelters or if they left the city or what.
Because it's the Soviets, Rebecca. It's the Soviets. They
Well,
turn the sky purple.
you can't rule them out. You never know. Anyway, so they make the decision they're going to go to Mac's house. And also keep in mind, I'm like scrolling through this, giving the summary as I'm doing it, so I might miss some stuff.
It's cool, but like they're going to Mac's house because Mac has her dad has a gun that she said was to use in case of emergencies. So that also tells you how about Mac's upbringing, that her dad's like, when in doubt, get the gun. Have a 12-year-old get a gun to protect herself.
It's the American way.
I guess, yeah. Of course, apparently.
All right, so as they're running over, they see a kid in a werewolf costume frozen in the street.
Yeah. And also, just say this real quick. I just like this page. I like that little shot of them like on their bikes. Kids and bikes. Gotta love it.
Very 80s.
Very 80s. But oh yeah, but werewolf guy. I forget what his name was. I think they said that
it's Wallace Bund.
Wallace Bund.
That's the name's not actually important at all.
It's not.
At least important. I don't remember it being important.
Yeah, but I like how the fact that he's like, oh yeah, that's Wallace. Like, you know, he came in with a mask before. We're friends. I think he's a weird kid though. So let's just be careful.
Yeah. So he's frozen in the street, and they're like, why is he doing that? What's going on? So they start to go up to like touch him, check it out, when suddenly they hear this really loud "ver ver ver" in the sky. That's the sound effect, you know.
No, I respect the commitment.
So they look up, and it's dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Flocks and flocks of dinosaurs flying above them.
What do you call what do you call like a group of dinosaurs?
I feel like flocks still works because they're like birds, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I like dinosaurs. I don't know enough to tell you what the groups are.
But again, great page. Love this page. So good. Whoever's coloring this book too. Whoever's coloring this book. I'll figure it out. They're killing it. I love it.
So, trying not to get eaten by dinosaurs, they run over to Mac's house.
Yeah.
And as they get there, they realize Alice, Mac's stepmother, is there, and she's drinking.
Yeah, see, again, her upbringing, man, you get the hints. You know, dad saying, "Nah, get the gun for emergencies." You got a stepmom that's drinking half the time.
Yeah, they also mention in here that her mom or her dad and her stepmom met at an AA meeting.
Oh yeah, and then she's literally just like, yeah, clearly she's following the rules because she's literally drinking a bottle of like Jack. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So they're talking to the mom. They're like, "What's going on?" Stuff like that. She's like, "Oh, those creatures, they're not dinosaurs. Those are demons." And Mac's like, "Okay, but where's my dad?" And she's like, "Oh, he's gone forever. Like this is the end of the world." Yeah,
it's like God is punishing the sinners and all that. That's why they're disappearing.
Yeah,
that's not why they're disappearing. It's like, oh, like the good people, I guess, like the good like followers of God or whatever, they disappear to go to heaven, and like they left the rest of us because we're all sinners and stuff. And it's just like, ugh, religion.
So the stepmom's like you said, all the good people are in heaven, and we're stuck here on earth, and I don't want to be stuck here with the rest of you sinners. And she pulls out a gun.
Yeah. And then it's like, that's where the gun is. She's going to use it to kill herself. Yay.
Yeah, so as you can see in the panel, Mac's trying to stop her and like talk her out of it. She's like, "Oh, I love you," and stuff like that. And suddenly we hear a bang, and that's where our issue ends.
I think it's like the way you said that, it's like "I love you" and stuff like that. I feel like what if Mac only said that just to make sure she doesn't kill herself? She actually didn't care about. She doesn't actually.
I mean, she could have, but
I mean, she was crying. She was crying, so it did seem sincere. But yeah. No, this issue 2 is also it's good. Again, very quick. Like it's a very quick read. But yeah, I love the fact that like again it's focused a lot on like slowly unraveling the mystery, and like, you know, obviously like, these are kids in the 80s, so like it's their perspective of what's going on, which I think is really cool. Yeah, man. Look, man, Wallace is also we forgot to mention that like they look back at Wallace after they try to like touch him and he disappears.
Oh yeah, I meant to say that and then I got distracted by the dinosaurs.
That's fair. But yeah, like they're like it's Vaughan doing, you know, the seasoning, like getting little bits and pieces of the mystery, which I think is really which I mean, it's Vaughan. Vaughan always does that. But yeah, no, I think it's a solid issue. Great art. again, I'm like, who colors this book? I need to know because they kill the cover. They kill the colors, which I think is like that's one thing that stands out to me with this book is the colors.
Yeah. I
But
like that it's very like purple and like pink and blue kind of
yeah,
color.
it's very colorful. Like it's a very like saturated color palette, which I mean it works. I mean if you especially doing stuff in the 80s, it's 80s themed. But yeah, this book this issue was pretty solid. I like this issue a lot. But yeah, that's all I got. I mean it's a good issue, simple enough.
Yeah.
Anything you have anything else we want to move on to issue 3?
I don't think so. Like you said, it's a solid issue. I feel like as a whole, and we'll talk about this later too, the first volume is very like coherent. Like it's kind of like an extended pilot. That's probably not the right term to use in a way because they all
Yeah.
like flow into each other before it feels like there's like a break, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's all I guess we really gotta say. So we'll just move on to issue 3. So issue 3 of Paper Girls, again, good cover, and I like the fact that like the scraped knee is the emphasis of what's
Accent.
going on. Yeah, which I think is it's really cool. But yeah, Tiff, and I love Tiff in the show. I guess we'll talk about that when we talk about the show. But yeah, so yeah, issue 3 starts off with this guy in this, I think it's like a Terminator type of mask, I believe. But this teenager at a football stadium, at a high school football stadium, watching a like black hole like above him. It's really cool. It's like the black hole with all the dinosaurs and lightning, and he thinks that he's like tripping off acid. It's pretty funny joke. And this girl he's talking to, we find out that his name is Terry, and the girl he's talking to name is Gabs. That comes up to him. It's just like, oh my gosh, like like the dragons come out of the sky. What do we do? And he's just like, listen, man, we just gotta like I think they just said like I forget exactly what happens, but they're just talking about like what they should do and like what they think is going on. And then out of nowhere, like out of panic, is like I think he's like, I'll keep you safe. He tries to kiss her, and I like how immediately she's just like, fuck off. Like we're not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, he shot his shot at the end of the world. If it doesn't work then, it's not gonna work ever.
That's true. And he's just like, and he's like, oh, I liked you for I've always liked you, blah blah. That's not important right now. The world's fucking ending. And then right after that awkward moment happens, we get introduced to a guy that is riding the dinosaurs. It's this dude in like white armor, riding one of the pterodactyls. I think it's like, I love the shot. It's a really cool shot. Really cool splash page. And he basically takes his glowing lance and then turns them into dust. And yeah, so he has murdered these teenagers out of nowhere.
Yeah. I think it's also good to note here that the language he's speaking, it's like a very weird, slangy future form of English.
Not even slangy. It's like a mix. I guess it's kind of like a mix of like slang and like
it's very strange to read, especially your first time reading it.
Like Middle Earth type of like vernacular, or like Victorian type of vernacular in a way. It's weird. Which made it very.
You kind of have to step back after you read it and like dissect what they're actually saying.
Yeah, no. Every time I read it, I was like, anything from like the dialogue from these characters that we're gonna receive more of, I'm just like, I have to take a minute to think about it. I was like, oh, okay, so that's what they're saying. Okay. But yeah, so he is talking to someone on like his intercom piece. He pulled out his armor, and things like I'm trying to remember what he said because I'm just like, it's so weird the way they speak. And it seems like, yeah, like basically just saying like he found like 2 other like stragglers, and then he basically wants to like forward them. He wants to go to the next phase or whatever, and he hears a gunshot in the distance, which is the gunshot that happened last issue where Mac fired the gun.
Her stepmother fired the gun.
Did. Yeah. And then he's like, oh, is everyone okay? He's like, oh, like everyone's fine. I think the bullet missed us. I think it's kind of a miracle. But it turns out, no, Aaron got shot in the gut. And it's just like, oh, damn, she about to die. She stumbles over. Tiffany catches her. And, now they're just trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? Like, oh, we'll have to probably like take after stepmom, drive her to the hospital. But her stepmom vanished. So again, more seeds being planted. So then, yeah, basically just trying to figure out, okay, now what? Your stepmom's gone. So now Tiffany basically like is gonna take the lower leadership role. It's like, okay, you know what? I'll drive. He's like, you're 12. No, listen, I take me and my dad drive in the empty parking lot sometimes. I know how to operate a vehicle. So they basically are gonna take Aaron to the hospital, which is of the plan of action. So transitions to them driving, and they're basically trying to figure out like what to do next. Tiffany mentions that like her mother's a doctor, so the moment they get to the hospital, they're gonna take Aaron to her mother. Aaron is it's they're she's kind of losing it, so like they're trying to hurry up. So it transitions to the guys that we ran into, the ninja mummies. Yeah, we'll call them ninja mummies. The deformed ninja mummies. And they're speaking their language, and they basically ran into the previous ninja mummy that got eaten by the dinosaur, and they basically are trying to figure out. And they basically like they go into his pockets and they find an alien, like a weapon to fight to use. That's basically the significance of that scene. And then it transitions to Aaron, and Aaron is kind of again losing it because she just got shot, and she's kind of tripping out. She ends up going on this little like weird adventure with like what it appears to be Ronald Reagan, which is hilarious. Again, more 80s nonsense. And Ronald Reagan is basically like, oh no, are we dead? And he's just like, no,
Yeah.
like we're not actually dead.
I'm also not entirely certain, but I think that fan might also be referencing the Charlie Brown Halloween special with the pumpkin field. I'm
Oh,
not entirely sure if that's on purpose or not, though.
really? Okay, I didn't even.
I'm just guessing because it kind of looks like that art style, but I could be completely off base there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. For this sake, we'll say that. But yeah, basically, like he's just telling, oh, like, we're not dead, and like like, you gotta get back to you gotta get back to your friends and all that. And but he basically ends this page with holding like an apple with like a bullet hole in it, a black apple that's like bleeding, and it says like remember your papers. I don't really know if there's a significance to this. Even when I finished the issue, I was like, I don't know if there's significance to this, but it's just her just tripping out, I guess. So then they end up driving, and they encounter the same man that vaporized those teenagers, and they're basically like, okay, like what's going on, and turns out this is the same guy that has the other walkie. So he's the guy that grabbed the walkie from the dead mummy ninja guy, and Tiffany goes out the car and is like, hey, like we have a friend who's shot, like we're trying to get her to the hospital, like please help. And the guy says like, hey, like, are you locals? And basically like he gets his lance and is basically trying to be like, hey, like listen, I'm trying. Listen, as long as you let ablution happen and all that, like your friend will be okay. She'll be healed. You'll guys remember a thing. And then this guy basically just gets shot in the head by KJ. KJ had the gun off of that she grabbed off of Aaron's off of Aaron's place. Shoots the guy in the brains, and then they run into the other deformed mummy ninja guys, and they're basically like they're speaking their language, so they can't really understand. They can't really like communicate with each other. And this guy grabs a kind of like a pin, which he puts towards his throat, and basically he goes from speaking his alien language to English, and so now that they communicate, and then they're basically just like like what are you guys, aliens? Like what's the deal? And then he's just like the guy's talking, oh no, we're not aliens. It's like then what are you? Oh, we're just like you. We're teenagers, and that's how issue 3 ends. So thoughts on issue 3?
I don't. I'm just like trying to think. I feel like we were like you keep saying so much happens here. It's hard to like even say anything.
Yeah. It's just like again, it's just beat after beat after beat. Like so, like
you really don't get a break.
Nah, not at all. I mean, this issue was good. It was good again, a bit fast, but yeah, you don't really get a break from it. Like I wonder, like, because how fast paced the plot is. I wonder how it must have been painful back when this was coming out, like, and waiting like every month for each issue because the story ends so quickly.
Yeah, you read for like 10 minutes. You're like, okay, I guess I'll wait a month.
Yeah, like, but yeah, like this issue it's good. It's just more of just weird nonsense happening, and then just like slowly like building towards like the mystery of what's going on. But yeah, I mean that's basically it. Like I mean, like I think it's solid. I love how this man seemingly kills two teenagers at the beginning of the book. It's hilarious. It's pretty funny. Um, you know, Cade is out of pocket. That's kind of I thought that was pretty funny. Her just shooting this dude like with. And the thing is like, I love the fact like this guy like when you analyze what he's saying, the guy in the white armor, he was trying to help them, but like obviously like because his English is different from theirs, they're like the communication is just not there. So like immediately Kate is like, I gotta shoot this fool. And so
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, like it's a solid issue. I like it's solid. Like it's good, but again, very 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 quick, very quick. Anything else you wanna say, Rebecca?
No, not for this issue.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, so we'll move on to issue 4. So issue 4 of Paper Girls. Again, cool cover. Like I think it's like I also like the fact that like the first issue just had the cover focus on like all the like just the main all 4 girls, and then each cover throughout the rest of the rest of the volume it focus on each girl individually. So
Yeah, I think that's a nice touch, and I think if you put them all together too, it's a nice set.
that'd be cool. Yeah, like I wanted to see like have all like if I have the actual like physical issues like back to back. That'd be really cool. A little like collage or whatever. But yeah, cool cover. I think the English is a hockey stick that she has that she's been carrying around from in the past like 2 issues. It's red and there's a bloody hand there because she's now a murderer. So yeah, but cool cover. But yeah, this issue basically starts out with we get introduced to a phone, a weird phone ringing, a phone with an eyeball that opens up. A guy picks up the phone and it's this kind of this like old white hair looking dude wearing a Public Enemy enemy shirt. Shout out to Public Enemy, they're dope. And answers the phone. It's like hello, and we get introduced to a new character who's a part of this, mysterious white army that's vaporizing people, and she's basically just like her name is apparently Cardinal, and basically she's just reporting to this guy. This guy's basically like a higher up in this organization. Is that Alistair, who was the guy who was shot, was named, saying he's been murdered. He's like, so what else should we do? So what should we do? And he said there's two stragglers that need to be dealt with, and he's like best call down Editrix, and he's like an Editrix like what is that really necessary? And he's like we can't risk another C day. Obviously we don't know what that is, and she's understood. And then she goes off to basically go after the Paper Girls basically. But yeah, so then it transitions to the Paper Girls and these 2 dudes, the 2 mummy ninja teenagers. I'm sorry, deformed mummy ninja teenagers, basically carrying them through the sewers. And basically like, it's important, we have to keep moving. It's unless you want to take your chance with the old timers. And, so that's basically, I guess, the organization in the white that's been going around. They're called the old timers. And KJ is basically just like, waving the gun around because she's now a murderer, is, saying like, where are you taking Aaron? Like, we want to know what's going on. And he's like, listen, like the sooner we can take Aaron, the sooner we can help the sooner we get away from these guys, the sooner we can help your friend. But they introduce themselves like, call me Heck. And my mate, his name is Nido. And, and then it's just like, like the last guy. And then basically it's like, like, did you murder these people? Like, what's going on? I was like, oh no, I didn't murder anyone. Like, I executed an evil son of a bitch. And, the murder is what he did to my boyfriend. And then they're just like, boyfriend? And then you see freaking Mac just like being like ill and like and being very insensitive.
Yeah, I don't remember if she drops a slur here again or not.
No,
I think she's okay this time.
For now.
Yeah, an acceptable level of homophobia.
Yeah, and then Katie's like, Mac, what the hell? And then he's like, don't worry, you guys are from a very effed up time, which I think is very funny. So they're walking through the sewers, and they're just it's just more exposition of what's going on, and heard them explain the situation, and then they end up picking up. They end up realizing that uh, Erin starts talking to like, oh, she forgot her papers. She forgot her papers again. She's very delusional because she's been shot. And then I think this is Heck. Yeah, Heck is the one with the hair. Heck notices that the communicators picked up, like the old timers could track that, so he ends up destroying it. And the moment he destroys it, he goes back to his alien language. So again, more miscommunication from both parties. And then he turns around, can notice something, and it's this like weird like organism with like a bunch of eyes. And yeah, remember Rebecca said this book was weird. This was when I was like, okay, this is a lot more weirder than the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this
And
thing.
we haven't even got to like the really weird stuff yet.
Okay. Okay. But yeah,
At least from what I remember.
Word. All right. So this thing with eyes, multiple eyes, comes after them all. Heck tries to shoot it, but then he ends up getting like shot like in the neck, and he seemingly dies. Everyone's freaking out, and then KJ's like try to like you gotta shoot it, but they didn't bring any bullets, so the gun's practically empty. This thing ends up grabbing Tiffany by the throat, and then a weird thing kind of happens. Tiffany starts to basically have like these very vivid visions of like her like getting through like
her past.
Of her past, of her getting through like a video game, basically like, and every time she gets through it starts from round 1, and she ends up getting through like round, I think it's like round 35, and it's very like, I'm not gonna lie, Rebecca, this part of the book I thought was like very random, and I'm just like, I don't know what this means, and it doesn't really get like, and like it doesn't really get tied up at the end of the volume. So I guess this is important later on. I don't know. You know more about me. I don't know what you thought about this.
It's been 2 years since I've read this comic like all the way through. There's payoff later for it, I believe. But the important part here, and what you'll probably get to in a second, is she sees this and she's like, "Wow, I did nothing with my life so far."
Yeah.
Even though she's like 12, but
yeah, like you have plenty of time to live your life, but like this is honestly very productive for a 12-year-old, just playing video games every day. That's what I was doing at 12. So
yeah, I was playing like Nintendogs,
playing like Halo and Mortal Kombat. So, yeah. So then that's actually a good note. That's a good note. Thanks, Rebecca. But yeah, the thing basically lets go. No, she doesn't let go. KJ ends up tackling Tiffany to try to like make sure to make sure this thing gets a hold of it. She ends up ripping a piece of it off, and it's basically essentially it gets hurt. And Nido ends up shooting it to death with the pew pew gun. So the thing is dead, and yeah. So apparently, Heck wasn't dead either. He just got injured a little bit. It was just a scratch. So basically, like Heck in his alien in his alien language is like, okay, wait, we got to keep moving. And then that's when you said, Rebecca, that like Tiffany mentioned that I was reliving my past, and like I realize it turns out I didn't really do anything with my life. But it turns out like it's not really important. They got to keep moving. So then they continue forward, and they leave the sewers into the woods. And I think I don't know why I get the sense that Mac is gonna say some out of pocket shit. I don't know why.
Anytime she's like opening her mouth, she's gonna say something that makes someone angry.
That's true. But yeah, basically she's just like, yo, why the hell are we following these two? She calls them perverts. These two perverts. We don't know anything about them. They have a boyfriend. They've had boyfriends, which makes me even less likely to trust them.
And for context, they're like leading them into the like woods at this
point. Woods. Yeah, no, it's again very insensitive, but a very fair assessment of what's going on. And basically said, listen, like Kate is like, listen, they said they can save Aaron's life. So what else do we have? And plus, we don't know what the hell's going on. So like might as well just follow them and just see what's going on. So then basically they lead them to a second machine Yeah, it's a similar machine we found earlier. That we found earlier in the first issue, and they basically just like you're saying that like this device gonna make Aaron better. Like what the hell is going on? It looks exactly like what we found in the basement. And they open it up, and it's very like fleshy, and I don't like that. It kind of makes me uncomfortable, but it's whatever. And it ends up opening up, and basically just like Mac is disappearing. Like this is mentally this is mentally deranged. Like why are we doing this? And he's like, listen, man, it's probably very futuristic. Probably has some equipment in there that could save your life. And then you see Aaron again talking more nonsense, saying like I have to get the 6th bucket for the grand prize. And so they ended up, they tell them to wait here. Obviously they can't understand them, but they kind of get the gist of it. And then they just basically disappear and just leave them there. And then they're just like, okay, so they just kidnap Aaron. Welp, like we fucked up. And yeah, so now they don't know what to do, and they end up, encountering another dinosaur that's about to come towards them, and that's how issue 4 ends. So thoughts on issue 4?
Yeah, so this is where we start kind of like we again, like we've been saying this entire time, planting the seeds for the larger narrative. We finally get some lore about who the people in white are,
Mm-hmm.
and how everything's starting to like connect together. Like you're starting to get a little bit of the pieces of the puzzle. Like you can't see the full picture yet, but you can start to see like
Yeah,
like a little bit.
the gist of like what's going on in a way. Yeah, no, yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah,
I
I
do.
think this is also probably the point in the book. This or the next issue where like people are going to decide like if this is the book for them or not.
That's true, yeah. It's the again like because everything happens so quickly, and a lot of stuff goes on. I'm just like this must have been painful just to have to like to wait for the next issue every month. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely better to binge read this than
that's true
wait a month between reading each issue.
for sure. But yeah, no, I think this issue is pretty good. I do like the characters. Hecken and I already forgot the other guy's name. Uh,
Naldo or something like
yeah,
that.
Nido. They're really fun, especially because like Cliff Chiang does a good job with the art, especially and obviously with the help of Vaughan directing him, but like to show like to show what they're both saying, even when we can't really understand what they're saying, like they to show like use their expressions to tell like not just the girls but the audience like the gist of what's going on.
Yeah, it takes a very strong artist to convey a story without words.
Yeah, especially an artist who has a very like kind of like comic book, but also like a comic book, but like cartoony type of style. A very like in a way it's very simple. So like the fact that he can do that with his with these characters, I think is very well done. So, but yeah, no, I think this book is great. This issue is pretty solid as well. But again, very very quick. Yeah. Any other thoughts on issue 4? Before we move on.
I think I'm good for now.
All
We're
right.
like flying through these issues.
Yeah, we're fine because like again, like the issues are so quick, so like the discussions
Yeah,
are gonna be very
like
quick.
we could go back and like talk about the character interactions, stuff like that, but honestly, it's just kind of like filler till like we move for our next plot point.
That's true, yeah. But yeah, so I also move on to the last issue number 5. Again, great cover focusing on Aaron. And I love that. I thought for a second that there wasn't a like, and again, we always saw a secondary element with these covers that shows a bit of the characters, I guess. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that like the light, like the white lighting was that element. I just noticed that just now looking at the cover.
Is that not true of the other covers? I don't remember. I'm just asking.
Yeah, nah, it's no, they like that. No, the other covers didn't have like a light source or anything like that. It was just flat.
Okay, because I didn't notice that either. I was going to point out that it didn't have one.
Yeah, so like, and again, it looks like she's looking towards something. So I guess like that is the like what she's looking at, and the lighting is that second element within the cover, which I think is dope. Actually, nice to think. It was very interesting to think about. but yeah, so this issue starts off with Aaron essentially waking up. And again, we see in front of her there, it looks like she's in like a warehouse. With again, we see like this like kind of this pod with the Apple logo on it, which I think is hilarious. So and we see obviously Heck and Nido. They're just like, oh, like she's coming too, and also he's when Heck's telling Nido to put on a squawk box, which I guess is what the communicators in their world are called to help them speak the
Yeah.
English. Uh, and Jason's like, don't listen, they're trying to calm her, like, don't freak out. And she's like, she's coming through. She's like, who are you? Oh, my name's Heck. Me and Nader brought you to our, it's not a warehouse. I love this clothes cover. It's called a Wen house. And it's basically like a place where they store like different like pieces of equipment from different time periods. And I think it's like really cool.
Yeah, they say later in this that they're stealing different objects from different points in time.
Yeah, exactly. So then she's basically telling like NATO's telling her, like, listen, like just relax, like that, like and Aaron said she can't feel her legs. Like, listen, that will pass. Just relax. Let the bugs do their work. And she's like, oh, the bugs. And we see this really cool splash page of like these robotic, like these insects, like above her wound, and then it zooms in and turns out like they're kind of like robots, like miniature robots.
If you guys remember hex bugs, they're like that.
They're futuristic hex bugs. Let's go. That's actually a pretty well way to put it, actually. But yeah, so yeah, these hex bugs are basically like repairing her wounds, and she basically feels like, yo, I'm gonna be sick. And then she realized like, yeah, like these are the guys that stole the walkie-talkie. Like, yeah, and obviously Rebecca explained that they're scavengers. They just take stuff from different time periods. And because and they say like yesterday's trash is tomorrow's treasure, which is a fair point. Um, but anyway, so then obviously they're just talking with her, making sure that she's all right, and they basically being like, okay, we have to, go back to 88, so that we can like send you back home now that you're healed, and they look at the newspaper. I forget what they say, but they mention that like, oh, like like they grab the newspaper and be like, okay, we have to get back 88. So then, but then they realize, oh, wait, the old timers they have to make sure the old timers don't follow them. And actually, they're on their tail. So they have to basically have a rougher landing. And so they end up traveling back to 88, roughly, might I add. And then it looks like they're in like it seems like in this like room or whatever. So that'll be revealed in a little bit, and it cuts back to KJ, Tiffany, and Mac, and they're basically trying to figure out, okay, like what's going on, like, and then KJ comes to realize, oh wait, the basement. So oh wait, what? Like, oh, so like that looked like it was the same exact shift. So what if they went back and they went back to the moment where what if that basement is actually them? They just went when they returned back to 88. That was the moment in time they landed in. So then now they want to basically they want to return back all the way back to from the sewers, all the way back from where they came from to the basement, and then that's when they encounter.
Just you talking about that is like melting my brain.
Yeah, like it's just timey-wimey nonsense, but like it's like every time I deal with time travel in books, I always think of one of my favorite time travel movies, Looper, where they basically.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah. Well, wait, what? Oh, really? Oh, really? Where like they basically
You
just
always talk about Looper.
Do I always talk about Looper? Like,
I feel like it's come up multiple times now.
Yeah, it reminds me of Looper, where like when they try to explain time travel, one of the characters who's from the future is like, listen, don't talk about time travel. It will just make things more complicated and it will confuse the fuck out of you. So don't worry about it. So that's always my mindset when I deal with time travel in comics. Don't worry about it. It is what it is.
The more time travel stories that happens, the more complicated everything's got to be now.
Especially because everyone has their own interpretation. Every writer has their own interpretation of how time travel works. So like it's just nonsense. But yeah, so it cuts back to this character. I almost called her Cadillac for a second because I forgot her name, but I knew it started with a C. Yeah, Carter. Carter. Yeah, yeah.
You know the common name Cadillac.
Yeah, the common name Cadillac. But like Cardinal also wasn't a common name either. But it was really, yeah. She was the one that came down to see them. Immediately, like Kate's like, "Don't kill us," but then Tiffany's like, "Okay, I'm tired of this shit." Grabs a gun, and points it at her, and again the writing for like the old timer characters. Again, their languages, their dialect is so weird. So like, bear with me. But basically, just like like listen, like you're. She's like, listen, like relax. You don't seem like the type to actually like kill another person. So like just chill out. Uh, just chill out. And then she's like, and basically just like is like, and then she clicks the gun. Like, okay, wait, hold on. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm gonna kill. I'll be happy to kill your freaking dinosaur. He's like, relax. And she's like, listen, like, I mean you no harm. She passes her like lance to Mac, and then KJ's dumbass immediately is like, yeah, that was a smooth move because like the gun isn't even loaded. And she's like, why? Mac's like, why on earth would you say that to her, you dumb little girl? But then she ends up pressing a button which activates the lance, blasting it's supposed to say Cadillac, Cardinal into a tree and knocks her out, and then her dinosaur flies away. So then while she's unconscious, they end up running running away, and then Cardinal again talks to the person, the old guy that we talked that was introduced last issue, her superior, who they refer to as grandfather, and basically just like just makes lessons like, okay, two young locals is like they're not like they're trying to be adults. Basically like we're trying to we have is there permission to go, permission to charge it? He's like, no, denied. It's like I'll basically go on myself, and we basically get this reveal of this guy surrounded by various tubes of individuals, and we don't really find out what this is, who these people are, and why they're there in this issue. But it will probably be explained in the next volume. Transitions to young Aaron, basically like a flashback of Aaron going to her father, and basically he's just like Dad, like, why are you crying? He's like, yeah, he's like I'm sad. He's like I'm afraid. I'm more afraid than sad. And then he's like, I didn't know grown-ups could get scared. He's like, oh, I'm not just scared. Like, we're terrified. And his face is just melting off. Again, no context, and I don't know what this means. But I guess it'll be explained. I guess it'll pay off later on. So here's and then she ends up waking up, and the bugs have essentially healed her wounds completely. The hex bugs, they healed her wounds completely. And then basically she's like, he's like, yeah, I'm alive. But turns out Hex and Nido are in a rough shape. I guess the time travel was so rocky that they ended up merging with the wall, and then you see freaking Heck merged with the wall, and you see like Heck's hand is like merged with Nido's hand.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if this has anything to do with it,
yeah,
but I remember earlier, I think it was this issue they said you don't just travel through time, you travel through space because the planet moves as
yeah,
time goes on.
yeah, which is interesting to say the least.
I mean, it makes sense
Yeah, it does make
as far
sense.
as like dumb
Physics.
time travel
Yeah,
goes.
it makes sense in terms of physics, but like so I appreciate that that little detail, but yeah, but like is it like the ship? I think it's like the ship to kept them in space as long as they could, but like uh, but like like you need to go. He's like, I don't even know you guys. Like, what's the deal? I was like, why did you do all this for me? He's like, listen, like you reminded us of us. Like we were literally in your shoes, and like we were in your shoes, like doing our thing, making a living. So basically, it was they did it. They basically was like they did it out of like the goodness, kindness of their hearts, basically. Uh, and I like what he says, like my moms used to say, a working man always does right by his, and then he just dies. Heck dies, and then she ends up, free, like the ship starts blinking red. He's like, how do I get out of here? She bangs on the door, opens up, and it's revealed that she was right. The kids were right that like she was in the basement basically the whole time. At least her future self was in the basement the whole time while they were there. So yeah, it's a time travel nonsense. Great. And then again, yep, I knew it. Mac being out of pocket, like, hey, like she calls them fruitcakes, like these fruitcakes hurt you. And she's like, no, I'm fine. Nando saved me, and they're just like shocked. It's like, yeah, like basically whatever is going on is like none of it's our fault. Like this, apparently like there was like it's more expedition stuff basically, and basically like they end up if you hear a voice outside, it's like I know you're. It's like hey, like I know you're in there. It's like who the hell's that? It is grandfather basically. It's grandfather guy. And basically is like and he speaks like normal, so he's obviously like considered. I guess he's considered superior because he, I guess has lived in the past before due to his Apple Record shirt and his Public Enemy shirt.
He's
And
like really old, if I remember correctly.
yeah, and basically he's like, listen, like, I know you're confused, like but like I know you're confused, and like I know there's a lot to explain, but like those fancy those guys basically consider themselves Robin Hoods, but like they were basically like they're just a murderous gangs of thugs, and he's like, listen, like get away from these, you should get far away from them before you get hurt, and she's just, and then you see Aaron just block like the tree of knowledge, which is what is referencing back to the first issue in her dream. And they're just like, what should we do? Like we don't really know what's going on. Like like we can't really should we surrender? Like listen, like it's over. And then a bright light happens in the house, and then you see the guy just like, oh, what the hell's going on now? And basically like the time machine activates again, and they disappear. So then it transitions to, and I like great pages of really good pages of all of them basically like going through the time stream, and they basically like they're all a bit scattered, and it seems like KJ ends up in like the water, so to speak. We see her just fall in the it seems to be water, and it seems that they're in the year 1999. Obviously from the title from the background, they land. They end up like in the middle of the street, and basically trying to figure out what's going on. And they're like, "Where's KJ?" So KJ is nowhere to be found, and so it's just Aaron, Tiffany, and Mac, and a car's coming towards them. And then basically it's like, okay, like it's slowing down. What should we do? And then he's like, "Listen, we're gonna do what the freaking the Preserver, which is their newspaper that they work for, taught us to do." And then she's like, "Hey, my name is like," he goes in front of the car like, "Hey, my name's Aaron Chiang. Like I deliver newspapers, and my friends and I, we need some help, please." And we hear this person like, "Is this?" The person walks out of the car. Says, "Is this a joke? Because my name is Aaron Chiang," and that's how issue 5 ends. So thoughts on issue 5?
And how volume 1 ends.
Yeah, that's how volume 1 ends. Yeah, sorry. Plot twist: the future self shows up. Yeah, but yeah. What are your thoughts on issue 5, Rebecca?
I don't have any thoughts on issue 5 specifically. I feel like at this point in the day, my brain's just like mush right now. So anything I would have said is like gone. But
that's true. Fair enough.
Like I said earlier, the volume as a whole, I think it's very solid. I think it sets up a lot of interesting stuff. I don't know that this book as a whole, like I said, I read the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not my like favorite book. Like I don't like own this physically, which is like the sign that like I love it,
Yeah, true.
Or anything like that, but it's still a good book,
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I mean, issue 5 was good. I mean, like it's a good twist. It's a really good twist. Again, so I guess waiting 5 months paid off, I guess, when people read this back when it came out. Yeah, issue 5 was dope, but the volume as a whole, I think I'm gonna leave it to my final thoughts just because I got thoughts on the whole volume as a whole. But yeah, I think this issue was good. And so far, like it's still, the mystery was we get a more clear image of what's going on in terms of like what's happening with the old timers and and all that, and also like heck, and Naldo's death is sad because like I was getting used to them being around, but as we learned even in the show, they don't really last very long either.
But it's also like time travel, so
that's true. Yeah, they could always come back at any point, in a way. But yeah, this issue with I also like the fact that again, Aaron's character in the show, with older Aaron, looks a little different in the show than it does in the.
In the show they also go to 2000.
They go to 2019. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's also a difference. But yeah, But yeah, I think this issue is was pretty solid. But yeah, so any other thoughts on issue 5? You know, any thoughts? Nothing, just no thoughts, head empty.
Exactly. I ate like a really big meal before I did this, so I'm like half
I
on the
just,
verge of being like, I just want to go to sleep, you know?
but yeah, so I mean, that's all the 5 issues of Paper Girls. So yeah, I guess we'll talk about basically we'll talk about the if you want to talk about the show, like what are your thoughts on the show real quick. Um, but yeah, so the Paper Girls is on Amazon Prime. I think all 10. I think
It's
although it has
8.
all 8 episodes are out. But Rebecca, yeah. So how far did you get into the show?
I finished the season.
So did I. I finished the season in a day because I couldn't stop watching it because I was
I
hooked.
did it in 2 and I watched it when I was working.
Word.
As I do most of the shows I watch now.
Facts. But yeah, no, that thing with the when we started reading the book, like I was very surprised how much they changed for the
It's
show.
very different. Like I said earlier, it's the
Like
show's character driven, the comic is plot driven.
yeah, like there's no, but the thing is, like the spirit of the comic is there 100%. I feel
Oh
like.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I think Brian K. Vaughan is the one of the producers.
yeah, Brian and Kayvon
So
and Cliff Chang. Well, and
I
both.
I don't know if that means like he was super involved with this or if he was just like, you know, do
From
whatever you want. Cause
from what I was told from the interviews I saw at Comic Con, that he was involved in it. So like he might have had a hand in changing some things around, which is what writers do when
yeah.
their shows get adapted. So
Yeah, well I think too, like I think if this was one of those things where you adopted it like let's say page by page from the comic, I
it
think
wouldn't work.
no, people wouldn't care if like you wouldn't if you didn't put as much time into the characters. Like they
Mm-hmm.
might still enjoy it, but like there wouldn't be anyone you can latch on to, you know?
Yeah, true. But yeah, like I think the show like is really is actually really good.
Yeah, I think in my personal opinion, it's much more enjoyable than the comics, at least to like the average viewer.
Yeah, I say so too. I say I like the show a lot better than the comic. For me, I like noting the change that they made. For example, like Aaron is the one that like gets jacked by the ninja mummy, the 4 ninja mummy teenagers, not Tiffany. A lot of
There's a
their
lot of changes in the
yeah,
show. Like,
it
Tiff is
is
ambitious instead of being like, "Oh, I don't do anything with my life."
exactly, and the fact that like she's also like a genius who wants to go to MIT. Because like again, like 'cause there's a lot more character driven, so they focus on like getting to know like these characters, like their ambitions, their personalities. They don't really do that much in the book because they know it's very plot driven. You know.
Yeah, especially the first volume.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I feel like yeah, like the first episode is pretty much the first volume of the book. But then I haven't read the other volumes. But like we don't really get introduced to the grandfather until the following like couple episodes. Like they take some elements from the first volume and then stretch them out to the other like in 9 episodes. Like we don't even see the dinosaurs and stuff until like the last 2 episodes, I believe. Um,
Yeah,
but but yeah, like I think the show does a good job of with slowing things down as well because it has 9 episodes to work with.
yeah.
Which
It also makes his characters more complex because of that.
that's true, yeah. But we do see some like crazy stuff. Some like not like crazy like eyeball organisms. Um,
No.
and like Aaron having like visions and like of and dream these weird ass dreams. Well, we do see her talk to
Well,
Rig, except for
yeah,
the Rig and stuff. But like yeah, but like we do see because in the show I thought was really cool. Like the person her older self that she meets isn't from 1999, it's from 2019. So it's a very like I think she's like in her 30s or 40s. And also has her own arc involving like what about some of the things that she could have done in her own life that
yeah. Well, we're also gonna read about future Aaron in the next volume, so
that's true, yeah. Yeah, I think
it's hard to compare it to the show because what's covered in this volume is so I don't want to say rushed through, but skipped over in the show.
that's true, yeah. um I do say though, like one of my favorite characters in the show is 1999 Tiff. Not the
Oh,
fact
she's
that
great.
not the fact that I think she's like fucking gorgeous and I love her.
That's just a plus.
Yeah, the fact that she's wifey is a plus, but like I love her interactions with younger Tiff a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I like how the older characters are like, you're 12, you just don't get it, you know?
and the fact that like the thing is like I don't know if we'll do this with this we'll continue with this show and with this book we'll see. But I also like the thing with Mac. I think like Mac, you don't. He's supposed to be an unlikable character at first, but I think the show does a good job. And again, haven't read the rest of the comic yet, so obviously that's probably going to change. But the show does a good job of like making you feel for her, especially with the fact that like her realization of like what her future entails.
Yeah. She's much more sympathetic much sooner in the show. And I don't just mean that in a way like you feel for her. I feel like in the show she's more like reflective of like the stuff she says sooner, you know?
That's true, yeah. But yeah, also, what are your thoughts on like, I kind of feel bad for this show because, well, the fact that like, well, when it like the timing of the show of like when it came out, because not gonna lie, this kind of still kind of came off the hype of Stranger Things because Stranger Things was trending on Netflix and it was the most watched thing on Netflix for about a month and a half. So like, I think it's still trending on Netflix on the top 10. And I feel like this, even in the comic, even comic wise, like the comic came out in 2015, Stranger Things came out in 2016. So like this will get a lot of comparisons. Like people when
I read somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember where, but some like article or something was saying like back in the day it was like, oh, if you like Stranger Things, you should read like Paper Girls. But
yeah,
outside of them being in the 80s, they're kind of two completely different stories.
Yeah, no, like
like they're from the 80s, but it doesn't really take place in the 80s all that much.
Yeah, like the only thing that makes them similar is the fact that they're 80s. It's in the 80s, and it's they're kids on bikes basically. That's the only thing that's the only similarity to them. Even like because I watched this with my sister, and my sister is also like became a recent fan of Stranger Things, even though like she's kind of a copier because I've been on Stranger Things since day one. She even thought like, oh, it's just Stranger Things until after the first episode. It's like, oh no, this is vastly different from Stranger Things. Because this is dealing with time travel and like dimensions, while Stranger Things is more like a supernatural, like a sci-fi fantasy type of deal.
Yeah, I didn't see any of the marketing for the show, so I don't know if they like rode the Stranger Things hype to just show the 80s parts, but that's it. I don't think the comparisons are really fair in terms of them being like the same show,
Yeah, there was a review I did see. I don't know if it was from, I think it was from like the Hollywood Reporter or something. Oh, it was from maybe some other like news outlet that's like not that recognized. But they said that like they called it just a ripoff or like a cheaper version of Stranger Things. I'm just like, you couldn't watch the show then because they're vastly different. And I think they're both great shows in their own right, in my opinion. Especially because
but I could also totally see like just because you like Stranger Things doesn't mean you're going to enjoy the show,
Yeah. But I'm worried because the show is really good, is pretty good, and like there wasn't a lot of marketing for this show. I think the marketing campaign for it was fairly weak. I only saw like a couple trailers. I saw like the first trailer that came out like a month ago, and then the fact that they only dropped the trailer a month ago was like kind of crazy because
I didn't even realize till my friend did something that this had come out so soon.
Exactly. And like I only saw maybe a couple ads on YouTube or something or not like I don't think the marketing was that great, which sucks because that also was the reason why, because I want a second season for the show, and obviously that's going to depend on ratings and all that. That's also what hindered Why the Last Man, I thought was really fucking good, and another Brian K. Vaughan property. If you haven't read Why the Last Man, fucking read it. It is amazing. Dated, very dated, but amazing. That show got low ratings because no one really knew about it, to be honest with you. And it was streaming on Hulu as well as it was streaming on Hulu. So like that was the reason why I got canceled because of the low ratings, because the marketing campaign was really weak for it. So I hope the fact that I hope people do watch this show. If they can get past the Stranger Things comparisons, they can watch the show.
Well, even too, like this being like a young female like led cast. I think that's also going to be a hard sell because most people probably aren't going to be watching this with their like dads or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Um,
So
yeah,
I think if for people going into this are either going to have to like already know about Paper Girls, be bored enough to put something on Amazon Prime,
or get
or
recommended to, or recommended by someone who's either fan
yeah,
of or watched the show.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I think the show is pretty well. Hey, we're not gonna do a review for it. This is like our mini review of the show. What would
yeah.
you give the show
No,
out of
we're
10?
not doing a full review for
Yeah,
this.
what would you give the show out of 10 since you've watched it and obviously you've read the book? So
Uh, I don't know, like probably I would say 7 out of 10. The show's pretty solid. Like I said, I think it's more enjoyable than the comic.
mm,
Um, yeah, I had a good time binging it.
for sure, I give us like I give us like a 7.5. I thought it was pretty solid. Um, there is a really good twist at the end of the book, at the end of the show, especially the last episode, which I'm just like, okay, that wants me. I'm really excited to see more of it. But again, it depends on if the show gets picked up for a second season, if people recognize it and watch it. But the show's getting really good reviews right now. I think let me look it up real quick and see what it has on Rotten Tomatoes, even though I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes most of the time, but whatever. Yeah, it has an 89%, which is it's a fresh tomato. So
Listen, we lost Batgirl. We lost First Kill. We can't lose another girl
yeah,
show.
yeah. Also, yeah, Rip to
I won't
Batgirl.
let it happen.
Yeah, let's make this like quickly memorial Rip to Batgirl because I just really wanted to see Leslie Grace as Batgirl so bad because I loved her in The Heights and I liked that casting, but we're never gonna see it, which sucks. Rip to First
We
Kill.
lost Brendan Fraser as a villain.
That's Firefly, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rip to First Kill. Even though listen, First Kill is not a good show, but it's
No,
such a
but it's
campy.
also a great show.
It's so bad that it was so good.
If you can get past the first episode, it's a great show.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. It's
It's
pretty.
camp.
It's pretty. It's the greatest. One of the greatest campy shows on Netflix, and also like their chemistry is infectious. It is. Yeah, it's such those two characters, ridiculously strong chemistry. But yeah, so listen, man, those two are gone, so might as well watch Paper Girls. I give the show, I think, like a 7.5. More towards an 8. I had a really good time watching it. Listen, if my sister, who isn't a sci-fi person, and could enjoy watching this show, and I think she watches garbage. So like, if she can enjoy this show, I think anyone can enjoy this show, and I hope that, I hope this show gets picked up for season 2. But yeah, that's
If you don't hate women, watch Paper
yeah. If you
Girls.
don't hate women, watch Paper Girls. But yeah, so Rebecca, now was any final thoughts on again the volume or anything else you want to mention? I'll say, 'cause I didn't talk about the whole volume yet. I think this book is pretty. I think it's pretty solid. Again, Brian K. Vaughan is one of my favorite writers of all time. I will read anything this man writes. So I had a fun time. I'm not used to this. I'm not used to because I'm used to his books being not really because this book's like if people who've read like Saga, for instance, if you haven't, why aren't you reading it? Or like Why the Last Man. Those books, they're not really fast paced, but they're very like mediumly paced out. I think like it has, but they're not really like really quick.
Well, Saga's a saga, so it's meant to be drawn out.
It's meant to be drawn out. Why the Last Man, I think is about the same. It's about the same. Like it's not supposed to be very drawn out. Yeah, this book is. I'm not used to Brian K. Vaughan's writing very quick in terms of like the pacing. So like that was
Yeah,
interesting.
I think from what I've seen of him, it's one of his more like out there works.
True. I will say this though, that like even though his writing is it's very out of the box in terms of like what I'm used to him writing, but Cliff Chiang's artwork makes the book. I think his artwork is very dope. I love his style. And again, whoever is the colorist on this book, Matt Wilson, who does the colors. I love this duo together. I love the way like his Cliff Chiang's style and the way he does his pages, and his composition with his pages, and then Matt Wilson's colors. I think with a more brighter saturation for the 80s look, I think works so well. So that the artwork is the best part, and I think I don't know what other books Cliff Chiang has done, but I would definitely read more stuff with Cliff Chiang. I think he's known for his Wonder Woman, so I'm definitely gonna check that out as well. But yeah, people, What would so what would you give? Because I mean, again, listen, this is gonna be a if we want to continue it, we can continue it. But we'll treat this as a one and done right now. So what would you give Paper Girls Volume 1? I guess out of 7, because out of respect for Damone.
Out of 7, give me a second.
Yeah, out of 7, I'd give this a 4. It's solid. It's a solid. It's kind of it's a little bit over. It's a little bit above mid for me. So like 7 out. So like 4 out of 7 is my my verdict for it.
You know what? I would give it the same thing. I think 4 out of 7.
Yeah, 4 out of 7. But I would definitely prefer the show overall, in my opinion. But I'm it's not gonna stop me. I'm definitely gonna like continue reading it, because I mean I have the first.
It's not a super long series, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's 24 issues, I think.
Nah,
is that right?
It's. I think it's 30. I think it's exactly 30. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because if we were able to do more episodes, which again we could do because I have thumbnails made for them, but there are 5 episodes.
We'll do Paper Girls 1 every 2 years.
Yeah, that's the schedule. Yeah, it's 5 issues and there's 6 volumes, so it's 30 exactly. So, but yeah, people pick this book up. I mean, the trade. I mean, I know there's a complete collection, which I love the cover for the complete collection. If people know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I have the first volume right here. Great cover. Again, I love the grading in the back and like the blue. It's so good. I do wish though, and I guess you get it in the complete collection or like in the omnibus or the compendiums. But like, I wish there was like behind the scenes stuff. I'm used to trades having behind the scenes stuff in it, but yeah, there's not really nothing there. But yeah, it's a great book. People buy it if you can get it on your local comic book shop. Get the complete collection that has everything in it. But yeah, I don't know. That's basically it. I think it's like I would change it up. Because we usually do recommendeds for the After Dark. But the thing is, like, right, you don't have anything. I don't have nothing. But like,
I have the. I'm recommending the show. Watch the show.
Yeah, recommend. Yeah, Rebecca's gonna recommend watching the show on Amazon Prime. For me though, because it just came out and that's something I'm watching right now. I recommend watching The Sandman, people, on Netflix. The Sandman, which is the Netflix show. That's the adaptation of the Neil Gaiman comic book series, The Sandman, of the same name. I watched the first 5 episodes. I'm on episode 6 right now of the show. This show by far I think has become one of my I've finished it, but it's becoming one of my favorite shows of the year. It is so good. The casting, for the most part, is really good. The characters are very interesting. The world building of Dream and the Dreaming and the Endless, which are his siblings, and the various worlds that we see in the show are very interesting and very well thought out. The VFX are amazing. Yeah, I'm probably going to rewatch it again, like after I watch it, because it's just so good. And I'm probably going to read the comic series after I finish watching the show, because I wanted to watch the show blind. But Rebecca, have you checked out The Sandman yet or no?
No, it's on my list of what to binge next, though.
Yeah, it's only 10 episodes, which again is solid. Around like 40 minutes, 45 minutes each. But yeah, but like great.
Shout out to Netflix when they inevitably cancel this after like 1 or 2 seasons.
Listen, we'll see. We'll see how the ratings. Even though Netflix has been in some hot water lately. But if the ratings are good, and it's trending right now, so we'll see. But yeah, people, watch The Sandman, and also when you're done reading and watching The Sandman, read the comics. It's a lot of comics to read, but I hear if you're a comic book fan, you've always been told that The Sandman is like a must-read comic book series you have to read. So
you have the rest of your life to read it.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's basically it for me with my recommendation for the week. But yeah, that's basically it, people. Thanks for everyone who's watching this or will watch this. We appreciate the support. Expect more books to do. Maybe we'll continue Paper Girls, maybe slowly. We're not gonna do the second volume right away, but obviously if they go this fast, maybe maybe we'll see. But yeah, comment, like, subscribe. Check out all of our other content. Put the notification button, because we have those. A notification button.
Question of the day.
Oh
If
yeah, where?
if you met your 12-year-old self who time traveled from the past, would you help them, and what would you do?
Oh shit! I feel like my 12-year-old self would be very disappointed. I'm just kidding. Nah. No, I honestly don't know. That's actually a good question to ask. Yeah, put that in the
That's
comments.
kind of sad.
No, I'm just kidding. I honestly don't know what my 12-year-old self would think of me. I don't know what your 12-year-old self would think of you. But
Maybe I'm just a narcissist, but I feel like I'd be pretty impressed.
nah, it's a little narcissistic, a little bit.
I was a self-absorbed child. I feel like it fits.
But yeah, people, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Yeah, so put in the comments. What would you do if you met your 12-year-old self from the past? But yeah, so yeah, put in the comments. Like our videos. There are 2 more clips. I made 2 more clips for check out the clips I uploaded this week, which are about, I believe, our Phase 6 stuff, which was a nice conversation, as well as Seamus talking about Spawn Batman. Freaking out over Spawn Batman, and the next 2 are still in the San Diego Comic-Con stuff that we recorded. One maybe involving the fact that Norman Osborn's getting his waves back, is reclaiming his waves. So yeah, look out for those, and obviously check out more stuff in the future. And yeah, people, that's all we got today. So get home safe. We'll see you in the next video. All right, bye bye.